Welcome to our 12th session of Agroecology Science and Practice. I am Dr. Tadeo Kahigwa Tevasima, lecturer at Mountains of the Moon University in the Faculty of Agriculture. With you, looking at the course Agroecology Science and Practice for a Master in Agroecology. Dear students, we have looked at the agroecological zones and we have looked at how important it is to ensure that we put enterprises that are suitable for the particular agroecological zones than trying to adapt the agroecological zones to the enterprises. Now, within the agroecological zone, it is important to ensure that plant, spatial, and temporal arrangements of components in the agroecosystem is appropriate. So spatial and temporal arrangement of plants is important in controlling erosion, nutrient improvement, and the manure formed when the biomass litter fall on the soil decompose. These arrangements can also increase biodiversity in agroecosystems and hence increase resilience to stresses such as dry spells, weeds, pests, and diseases. Now, to do spatial and temporal, spatial here we mean space arrangement, the physical space, and temporal is the time. So we have to use the appropriate spacing, but we also have to use the appropriate timing. And this can be achieved through practices such as crop rotations, well-planned crop rotations, polycultures, reduced tillage. They will help us to ensure we have the appropriate spatial and temporal arrangement of crops. Among the practices to achieve the spatial and temporal arrangements, we have talked about crop rotation. This is nothing unique, but it is the old practice of growing different crops on the same piece of land following a sequence. And a good rotation has several characteristics. For example, ensure that you include legumes in the rotation. Crops of the same family should not follow each other. Include fallow periods that are well managed. And crop rotation has several benefits that it will contribute to the sustainability of the farm. For example, a well-planned crop rotation system should be able to improve crop productivity per unit area, since the system improves soil fertility, controls pests and diseases. A proper rotation can achieve total control of pests, diseases and weeds, since the system breaks their life cycles. Polycultures, this is the growing of more than one crop at the same time on a given piece of land, and it is the opposite of the monoculture. So we see also how this can be important in managing the spatial and temporal arrangement of crops. In a polyculture, if trees are incorporated in the system, the complementary traits of trees and crops enhance the efficiency of the whole system. Polycultures enhance ecological functions through processes such as facilitation, complementation, and compensation. These are ecosystem services that result from use of polycultures. To understand further, the students are encouraged to work in groups of 2 and develop a polyculture and crop rotation plan for a smallholder farm typical in the Rwenzori region and integrate all the aspects that are required in a crop rotation or a polyculture. Another practice that is highly recommended in agroecology and relates with soil and water conservation is reduced tillage or no tillage. This would imply that the soil is not disturbed and through the cover, for example, the soil is kept at conducive temperatures and the weeds are regulated from growing. And if the soil must be worked, it should not exceed 15 centimeters before seeding. This will help to reduce the energy in cultivation. It will decrease wind and water erosion, reduce compaction, which is normally caused by especially machinery, heavy machinery like tractors. It will protect the soil living organisms that would be distracted through cultivation. However, reduced tillage has been confused with herbicides. This, of course, would distract the soil biota, and therefore, instead of using herbicides, it is better to use alternatives like cover legumes. But in some circumstances, people have justified the use of herbicides as a means to reduce tillage, but that is not the appropriate alternative because it is very destructive to the soil living organisms. Reduced tillage also increases soil organic matter and it encourages carbon sequestration, which is important in climate change mitigation. Reduced tillage can be achieved, as earlier mentioned, through, for example, mulching, use of legumes, and making a proper crop choice and crop rotation can also assure reduced tillage and alleviate the constraints and increase efficiency of cropping systems. Reduced tillage can be achieved through surface mulch and is normally contributing to the inclusion of legumes which support the process of nitrogen addition to the soil. So there are several benefits, but also challenges that relate with reduced tillage. The other practice, and in a broad sense that is addressing the challenges of agroecology, is pest, disease, weed, and problem animal management. Pest and disease management in both crops and livestock is affected by a variety. Pests and livestock and crops are affected by a variety of pests, and in most cases synthetic chemical application is looked at as the only solution. But chemical management is not suitable as it causes pollution and makes food less healthy for humans. So it is better to use natural pesticides, but it is also important to learn more about integrated pest management that works without reliance on chemicals. The use of biopesticides is popularly known in traditional farming systems. In agroecology, we can look at the application of bacteria or other fungi that can control pests. The biopesticides affect bioantibiosis, competition, induction of plant resistance mechanisms, inactivation, and degradation of pathogenicity of the pathogens. So by so doing, it is not necessarily killing, but it is eliminating the pests. Use of different types of insect traps that use both light and pheromones is also encouraged in agroecology. We can also use biological pest control, which involves natural enemies to control pests, and it is very good, of course, to always do pest scouting, such that we can determine the pest before it reaches economic destructive levels. And this will help us to use biological control measures. Otherwise, if the population has overpassed such a level, then it may not be easily checked by a natural enemy. We can also use allelopathic plants. These may be used as intercrops or cover crops. They have to be used carefully because they can also affect the target crop. Allelopathic plants can release noxious compounds during their life cycle or an indirect effect through the decomposition of their residues. Some crops such as sorghum and sunflower have direct allelopathic traits. Onions can be used in the push-pull mechanism. Desmodium also has been used in the push-pull. So allelopathy results from exudates of roots of crops, especially that will hinder other plants to grow, but also it can be enhanced through push-pull mechanisms, where a pest is pushed by a plant that it does not prefer in a field, and then a plant is planted outside of the field, which will attract that pest to leave the field. The positive effects of allelopathic plants can be used for managing pests and diseases. Allelopathic plant compounds attract the target organism, and the plant actually acts as a trap. So in a push-pull, this is where the plant that is put outside of the field is attracting the pest that has been repelled from the main field, and then it will be trapped by such a plant, and therefore it will not affect the crop that is being protected. The push-pull strategy is based on repelling or deterring insect pests from crops, and then attracting them with a trap plant around or even within fields to pull them away from the crops. So, to further understand this system, students are encouraged to use local materials of their choice and design and set an insect trap. Here we have our agroecology demonstration farm, Mountains of the Moon University. And then the students should inspect their trap frequently so that they can observe which pests have been captured, and they should identify the target species from all other organisms that have been captured, because if the trap is not functioning well, it could actually trap other organisms that are not of target. But a good trap should be specific and should be able to only catch the pest that is targeted. So from this, the students are encouraged to write a report on the performance of the trap and present their findings to their fellow students and the lecturer. This session ends here, and in our next session we will be looking at another challenge, that is compromising agroecological farming approaches. That is the weeds, which are encouraging quite a lot of herbicides that are detrimental to both the farming system but also to the human livelihood. Thank you for participating in our 12th session. Looking forward to meeting you in the 13th session.